Welcome, everybody. Yes, we are live. It's Stephanie Brown here for another session with Intelligent Construction Opportunities. I'm sure everybody isn't right on time, but if you are, thank you for being so. Intelligent Construction Opportunities facilitates these live streams intentionally because we want to help construction professionals really understand the automations that the development companies and software companies and tech companies in general are building for the good of the construction profession. Today, our guest is Elijah Zenger, as you can see, courtesy of Roger. He is a co-founder of Roger. And Rogers has really put together a fantastic communications workspace, which I'm really crazy about because they actually started just using tools we're already using. And they just expounded on those and really made those something really useful. So that's Elijah's job today, is to show you how it all cooks up. How are you doing, Elijah?
Good. I think you're so kind. I think when we first met, you've always, I think, loved what we've done, but I think also maybe that's also your job to just love what we're doing. But thank you so much for having us. I've been so excited, and yeah, of course, we really believe that everything that we're doing is going to make a difference, and we're doing it in the right way. So I I
Well, I'm
appreciate
very selective about, about how I'm trying to build out these conversations. And I kind of, even in my own ignorance, I have to get it and I have to understand, okay, I understand the practicality and the pragmatic value of the software. And that's why Intelligent Construction Opportunities helps people to select their software, because I'm really trying to peel back the need to have versus the bells and the whistles. So, I think that's really important. So I don't know who's popped on or who hasn't popped on, but I've made a little commercial for myself for Intelligent Construction Opportunities. So I just indulge me for a minute and I'm going to play it through for you. And then you can see what I do. And then I'm just going to really quickly show you what our technology selection process looks like. So here we go. And there you go.
That was amazing. I couldn't even begin to do something like that.
No worries. I'm here to help if that's what you'd like to do, Elijah. So I just want to, again, just be able to show our audience here. It's exactly what I do. I mean, even there's refinement as I work more and more with customers to really understand that, yeah, it's all great and dandy to say you're assessing requirements, but it's in the weeds. And really what you're trying to do is figure out how they're doing what they're doing now. And it's, people often ask me, I had somebody the other day ask me, what's a good competitor for Bluebeam, for instance? And, I basically had to say, there are all kinds of versions of being able to do PDF markups for your blueprints, but it all depends on your budget, on who's using it, how you're using it, what other tools you're already using. So I'm really kind of loath just to, throw out names of software. But having said that, I do have a place in my business model, so to speak, where if you want something what I call quick and dirty, I'm happy to provide it for you. So anyway, that's enough of about Intelligent Construction Opportunities. I want to get back to what we're here for today, which is to really give our audience some really great insight into what Roger's doing and what they're all about. And I just want to, before we jump in, Lance, thank you so much, buddy. You are a man among men, is all I can say, in terms of your support and how you support your community and encourage the rest of us to do the same. So thanks for popping in. And we've also got Matt Davidge. I believe I have a meeting with him later this afternoon.
Nice.
So glad that you popped in and see what we're doing here. And as we go, if anybody has questions or comments, we have a few little, engagement teasers that we'll share, maybe, throughout what Elijah's going to show you. But we really just want to sort of build out the practicalities of why you're here today and how Roger can maybe help what you're doing in terms of your own SOPs. So take it away, Elijah.
Yeah. Would it be helpful if I start with intros? Where should I start?
I mean, you know what? Actually, I love these questions. I love the questions because that's what people are thinking. How are you training and helping managers? And so maybe you can segue and sort of talk about, what your own experience is. I know you're flying around the country right now doing a lot of onboarding. What twigged them, and how did it matter to them what you're doing?
So we always tee up our conversations with these sets of questions because I think it really helps people think about the work that they're doing in a different way, which is they begin to think about the work of management itself as different from documentation, for example, right? The training of how a manager actually does their job. How are they seeing what's happening in terms of what those project managers, those engineers, those foremen, et cetera, what are they doing? And then broadly, like, what is it that's going well from their processes versus not? I think broadly, like you said, we're traveling all around the country, doing onboardings, getting teams in. And I think the value that has resonated that comes out of these questions and comes out of our product is one where we just saw this gap, right? This gap between the softwares that exist, the Procourse, the Autodesk, et cetera, which really help these PMs, mostly at GCs and also subcontractors, really get a handle on the documentation, what decisions have been made, versus the actual work, the chasing and the pushing of the network in order to get things tracked and executed, right? And so for us, the product and our experience has taught us is that it's really hard to manage your email. It's really hard to track your tasks. It's really hard to remember to follow up. And the bigger the project gets, the more stuff starts to fall through the cracks from the simple, tedious day-to-day management pieces. Right?
And it's the volume. It's the volume of communications. I mean, any one of us can call out any experience in a relationship, and it's really rare. Well, I call it like throwing the ball back. It's a game of catch. It's really rare when it's a straight game of catch. Throw the ball, get the email back, get the response you needed, and move on. It's very, very rare. And so it's the complexity and the volume. And as you say, the more projects, God.
Yeah. And so this is how we started, right? Is my co-founder Josh comes from a construction background. He was building multifamily buildings in the Park City area mostly. And they had a couple balls get dropped like that ended up being actually really big ticket costs, costs to getting tenants in, costs to the actual schedule of the project, etc. And he sat down knowing that they had used Procore in every way that Procore could be used. They had a smart team and said, what happened here? And the truth was, like you said, it was the volume. It was just dropping those balls. And we spent the whole first year of the company. Basically, I would go and deliver monsters to job sites, and I would sit and I'd watch people work, and I just said, okay, what's really hurting them from a cost perspective, from a time perspective. And we would just watch people try and get tasks done and get through their email. And most of the time that I was sitting in the trailer, that's what they were trying to do. And we said, okay, well, there's probably an opportunity here for us to try and bring a better way to get those things done if that's where they're spending the majority of their time. And that's where a lot of these management costs are actually getting incurred. And we were off to the races. So that's our story, at least.
And maybe you want to talk a little bit about, I mean, you guys are Stanford boys for the most part. What makes you guys, I mean, you hung out in the trailer, to really, let's maybe dig a little deeper and, how it was that the three of you got together and each role that you play that brings such a dynamic platform together.
Totally. Well, Josh's background is all civil engineering. He came out of Stanford. Stanford hit what he really focused on was building the right organizations in construction. I think that's a lot of what Stanford's program is all about. And so for him, it was this mix of philosophy on how do you do a project well? Like what are the pieces not only in the nitty-gritty of like RFIs, submittals, but like build a right team of people who pull together, um, align incentives, all those sorts of things, that there's trust and commitment and all those sorts of kind of like tools, I think, in his tool belt that he has brought to the company in addition to his experience in construction. I think mine is I have worked in startups ever since graduating, and I knew what it was like to scale, to fundraise, and mostly actually sit with customers and to interview. And so we've run over 1,000 interviews probably at this point with PMs, PEs, executives, etc., sitting and asking and watching and observing what it is that they needed at every step of the way. That I think has given us really rich insight into just how does it actually happen, and how does that shift across different companies, right? Because you have a company like a Swinnerton that's going to operate very differently than a small 10-person GC, which is going to operate very differently from an MEP, right? And being able to sit and do that with everyone is really big. And then we have great engineering team, right? Like I'm a glue guy, and Josh is the ideas, and our head of engineering, JJ, came out of Facebook and has kind of worked in building early stage startup tech products, and really just brings a velocity that we know is needed. And we also bring it from a little bit of a consumer side. I think tech is hard. Good tech is hard to build, and a lot of tech that gets built isn't, I would say, as user friendly as it needs to be. And having a tech team that's laser focused on making things usable and beautiful and simple has been kind of like a core tenet of ours. And the only way you can do that is with a really, really good team. So I also want to shout out our head of design. Liz came out of Brown, and she has really pushed our whole company forward on that front as well, when it comes to making sure that it's a great user experience every step of the way.
So when you talk about user experience, so who are the actual users of Rogers? Can we kind of get into that and tear that apart? Because I really want to make sure that the people in the field, the construction professionals, the guys installing, name the whatever, are they touching it, or is it exclusively a project manager? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
So our tagline is making managers excellent. And I think our sub tagline is like a single place to track and execute. And so I think when we came to market, the person we've interviewed with most, the person we've had most success with, are project managers, project engineers at GCs, and usually MEPs. That said, I think everyone's a manager, right? Everyone is managing their own tasks, and or they're managing a team of which they're tracking, hey, what needs to get done? What do I need to do today? And you want a single space where you can track and execute on responding to your emails, managing your tasks, setting up your procurement logs and your closeout and whatever else that might be. And so while I think we have the most impact and success because the highest volume is coming through that PM role, often they're like where the chopping block really lands when it comes to all of the information getting passed. We see a lot of supers using it, assistant supers, APMs, PEs. We've had foremen sign up and use it as well. And so it's really anyone who feels like they need a little bit better organization and a little bit better handle on how they can track and execute on all of this, what I would say day-to-day tedious communication, collaboration work, right? Like
it's
that's
vital.
where we
It's
succeed.
just vital. Who's not using, who in some sort of a supervisory position, you could call it management, whatever, is not using email? But I'd even say, within a trade, I mean, you don't know, how far down anyone is or is not using email. Just even to say, I can't make work today. That is as simple as that, but that's a big thing if you're missing that crew member and they're teed up to get, something done that day.
Right.
So I want to throw this out to the audience here now. I've got a couple of comments. Scott Dryden is asking, what about commissioning and optimizing MEP systems? How do you want to handle that?
For us, what I would say is we focus much less on the specific workflows when it comes to general construction. The way that I think you can think about us as a product is we're all productivity. So when it comes to email, when it comes to tasks, when it comes to what do I need to do, using or at least complementing the other systems that I have, right? So we play really nicely with Procore and the other systems that are out there. So for us, we usually feel like someone might have a software or a system when it comes to, for example, commissioning, or when it comes to controls, or when it comes to whatever that might be. For us, where we want to play is just making managers really fast at knowing exactly what they need to do in that system, or diving into that in that way. So Scott, I would say maybe we're one step removed from what you want when it comes to commissioning and like optimizing. But for the managers who are behind that, we're trying to make sure that they get to the right work fastest.
And the other thing that's really cool about any well-built platform, particularly one that I think has a sort of a generic idea about it, is that it's not to say that you can't build in or on certain specifics that are outside of it right now in email, if it makes sense to the alignment. Right. That's so keep the questions coming for sure.
Totally. And I think like there's parts of that commissioning workflow that we would touch, right? The tasks that are coming out of it. But I do think that a lot of people have, especially when it comes to documentation and verification, they're doing that in usually some special build software for that specifically, right? It's a Procore. It's something that they're going to be able to DocuSign or do something with, right? And for us,
that's Intelligent Construction Opportunities' place, is to actually help to find the integration, and it can be a literal integration or just part of your stack that feeds into this. But the beauty of Roger, and that here we go with Mr. Lance and his, I love his analogies. Roger is the car. It allows for the freedom of deciding how you want to drive it. So again, it's a framework of the tools you're already using. And then you start to look at the other parts of your stack, the other softwares, the document management, the project management, the contracts. Do you want an all-in-one? And then that becomes something that Intelligent Construction Opportunities helps the builder to decide what does it look like, what kind of budget do you have, and so on. So this is definitely a piece of it. Thank you for that, Mr. Analogy, Lance. Appreciate it. So I mean, why don't we, get into, let's start showing the people what we're doing here and why it's terrific. And then people keep lobbing questions by all means. I mean, we want to be able to give you as much context as possible. And let us know, how are you managing your own day-to-day work right now?
Totally. I'm happy to share. We can give the people what they want and just walk through a couple workflows in the system if that's helpful.
Yeah, and we can come back to conversation as things shake out in our session today.
Yeah.
So you go for it. I'm gonna remove our slides and you put yours back in, and I'll put them up.
Okay. Let me see if I can pull this up just so people can see.
Yeah, there we are.
Great. So you're seeing what I'm seeing, which is this thing that looks like an inbox, because it is an inbox. Great. Well, I will go through this fairly quickly because I want to show a couple workflows, and then Stephanie, interrupt me. I actually can't see your face when I'm here. So please just tell me when I need to stop.
No worries. I just want you to, let them see. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm calling this whole session putting it together. And the reason is because you've basically taken your email your Trello, I'll say your low grade, organization, Scrum, whatever you want to call it, system that your average construction professional is engaging, and you've bought them all together. And that's, just show them what it is that why this thing rocks.
Definitely. Well, yeah, I'll start with the why. And this maybe gets back to even some of the discussion that we've had already, which is there is no decision really in construction that gets made without it touching the task management or the email process, right? Almost always, if there's an RFI, if there's a PCO, if there's something going on the project, you're going to talk about it and send an email saying what you talked about, or you're going to send an email first and you're going to collaborate and figure it out before it ever gets into a Procore, into an Autodesk, into whatever system of record that your company has for your decision making. And so for us, we feel like this is one of the most critical workflows and actually, quote unquote, getting shit done, right? This is how it all happens. And it's an unfortunate truth, right? I think so many people are overwhelmed, like you said, in their inbox, and they're tracking, they're using notebooks, they're using stickies. And so the way that we've come in and solved it is we said, okay, let's give a set of construction management tools to the inbox to help people get through faster, but really to help them execute more effectively on it. So let's take one here, this tracking date column. This tracking date column is probably our most used feature. It's also our simplest feature, which is if I have an email, instead of starring it or doing anything else to try and remember it or marking it as unread, as a lot of people run their to-do list, I'm just going to take this email and I'm going to say, I want to manage this on Monday, and it'll go away. And then on Monday, it pops to the top of this due today section, which is a pin of all of the emails that I was supposed to do today or earlier. And I can just show, if I mark something as today, it'll pop in to the top of today. And when I've done it, I can just mark it as done. And so we've turned the inbox and that experience into a simple to-do list prioritized by time. So if I, get something in, I know exactly when I need to do it. And I know what is that order of priority? How important is it? This extends, most importantly, to sending. And so here, anything that I ever need to follow up with, our rule is basically every email you send should get a date. If I'm sending an email out and I want to check in on the lead times of the switchgear, right? Or whatever that might be, I can actually put that in, I can send my question, and I can pick what date do I want that email to pop back into the top of my inbox so that it doesn't fall through the cracks. So in literally just one click, I've been able to set exactly when I need to act on it to make sure that it will get done. Otherwise, managers are using notebooks, they're using stickies, they're doing all these other things to try and do something as simple as that, right? When do I need to manage this again? So that's going to be a theme throughout kind of our whole product, is helping managers know when they need to act on something and then letting them actually act on it. So
and you only use two, right? You have got two servers that two email platforms that you serve. That's Gmail and Outlook. Is that correct?
Right. And you single sign on with Gmail and Outlook. So all the emails that you see here are exactly the emails that you have in your work inbox. If you read something here, it technically will get marked as read in Outlook or Gmail. But we see that when users sign up, they often start to use this as their main avenue for managing all of their email itself. You can use both, but we almost see 100% adoption of being here and using this from then on out.
And now you want to just show people how, okay, you've done the email sort of piece of it. How does that actually play out into the other pieces?
Yeah, totally. I'm going to show two things. One, I'm going to show sort of how the follow-up works, and then I'm going to show how this all links up to tasks. So
if anybody's got any questions, jump in and we'll certainly answer them here and now.
So one of the things that project managers and many of us do often enough is we're just chasing people down, right? You don't get a response to something and you need a response to something. And whether you're in the PM role, whether you're at an MEP, you're always asking for information. In this case, here's an email where we asked about information. And I think this is about a drawing and just getting thoughts from the owner about this drawing, right? I can really quickly, if I haven't got a response, we actually automatically will draft follow-ups to the messages that you've sent. So we save time by really writing up some of these simple follow-ups that you're doing so that you can get through that list and push all of that information across the network much faster. And so I can just come in here, I can read to make sure, let's see, what does this look like? Checking it on the drawing. That's awesome. And I can send it off. And we allow people.
AI being used in this instance?
Yep. So that's written by AI for you, but you can always come in and edit it. It doesn't directly get sent. We don't let the AI do anything automatically for you. You just have to check in with it, if that makes sense. A couple other things that I do want to show as we get in here. I want to show how all of this links up with tasks. So not every email that you get, right, is able to just be followed up on. So here's one where there's an email that we've gotten, which is about looking at this cabinet shop submittal markup, right? I can't do it right now, but I want to make sure that's on my list. So I can really quickly just highlight that, create a new task, and I'm just going to say I want to read the cabinet shop submittal markup / look at, maybe it's a better word for it. And I can decide where do I want to put it? Okay, this is for the commons. Great. So I'm going to have it in that task board. I'm going to make sure that I track it for Monday as when I want to do it. And this is going to be due on Tuesday. So this is the date that I'm acting on it. This is the date that I need to deliver it. And I'll mark it as hot just because. And so now that task is linked directly to this email, and I've pulled it out. And I can go to this task board that I have, and I can say, okay, here's look at the cabinet shop submittal markup. And I can actually go in, and whether I assign this to anyone on my team or myself, I can see this email. I can open the email. I can download the attachment. I can respond. I can do everything directly from my task board. And so what this allows you and your team to do is track every single conversation and execute, actually manage all the work that you need to do directly from this board. No more going to Trello and dragging and pulling back and rewriting and double entry. You can do everything directly from the source. You can open all of the conversations, manage all the conversations directly from your task board so that you can work through and get everything to complete much, much faster.
I have a question for you. So the demo you're showing, though, is that more from a laptop as opposed to, or an iPad as opposed to a mobile app?
This is from the laptop. We do have a mobile app as well. You can do all your emailing, your setting tracking dates, everything else from that mobile app as well on iOS. Lance, we're working on getting you the one for Android. Hang in tight. We're almost done with the Android mobile app, but all at least on iOS is up and running.
Well, it's important. I mean, important, but again, it's an evolution, right?
Right.
And do you have some of your customers asking you for bells and whistles that you're working on that you feel makes sense to the future of Roger?
Yeah, totally. We have a couple things that are in the works that are really, really exciting, actually. So we have one, which is a homepage, which pulls all of your emails that are tracked for today, all of your tasks that you said you wanted to do today, and actually all of your log items, which I didn't show, but we do procurement and closeout logs and are actually coming out with change logs as well, all integrated with Procore. And it pulls them all into a single dashboard where you can send your emails, manage your tasks, and update your log items if you're tracking procurement or materials or whatever, all from one spot. So that's coming out actually in the next 2 weeks. Like I said, we have change management, so change orders, PCOs, PCCOs, all coming in within the month. And we're kind of continuously always releasing things. I think we're at that phase of our business where we have a lot of people who are beta customers. We have a lot of people who are paying customers, and we get a lot of feedback by managing both of those communities, right? We get to try a lot of fun things with our beta, and we get to really support our paying community, and that means that things are always moving fast.
And I think that's important because that's why I'm bringing up the slide, because I feel that it's important, first of all, to see that, the kind of companies that are already, throwing some weight behind Roger in their belief in what you're doing, I think that's important. But it's really your process that's important. I mean, obviously you get your own custom personal demo. If you work with intelligent construction opportunities, we start to facilitate where you are, why you think it's even Roger to begin with. And then we move into, these personalized product demos. But what I really like about Roger is this fully refundable 12-week pilot. I mean, that's a nice chunk of time for you to decide, is this going to float for my projects? And so I think, for our audience, it's really, really, really cool. And so, and the other thing that we do in these live streams is, after the fact, intelligent construction opportunities is taking the heavy lift of providing collateral. So I'll be in touch with people that registered today, and be able to get their emails so that we can provide you with some takeaway collateral, because we don't want tools that, again, selfishly, I say that I really believe in, get missed, and that, contractors and MEPs and people that, do the really tough work of making a structure come alive, have the aid where they want it and where they can afford it.
Yeah, totally. And I think we're in a lucky spot. One, having met you, we're really excited about being part of the community. But two, we have a big wait list. I think people have really understood the value prop. People have really understood that this is a painful part of the work that they do, and they'd much rather be doing proactive problem solving than sending emails, and anything that can maybe make that faster and more efficient is worth investing in. So as as people are interested in this, we can pull them in. Just know that you're also joining a great group of people who are already waiting and excited, which is fun.
I want to put up Scott's comment. It's a pretty long one, but I think, he says it's all part of the puzzle. Thank you for your comment and answer. I'm currently working on a 1.6 million square foot new building with 12 towers and a large retail mall. This is on 28 acres of land, huge project. Currently, we use Procore, FieldWire, Revisto, Autodesk, and Reich. Wow, that's a stack right there.
That is.
Yeah. There are 44 contractors on site on any given day, and 1,000 plus workers on site, 11 designers, so on and so forth. So, I mean, I think it's good to see the, the actual items get lost on a regular basis, and I'm sort of cut off here and not able to actually.
There's nothing you can do.
But we can certainly take this up with you in a private demo, and as I said, I mean, just to be able to show, if this is something you're considering. I mean, as we said at the top of our live stream today, Elijah is on the move, literally on the move all the time, doing onboarding, and he's got some big swingers, including Swinnerton, wanting to, crack this. And so, Scott, if you want to do that, by all means, pop us your email in the comments, and we'll get in touch with you, or whatever works for you. But I mean, the bottom line is you need to see it, you need to feel it, right?
Yeah, I think this brings up two of the great points, which is, like you said, our goal with the pilot is to be as construction friendly as possible, i.e., we can refund it if it doesn't go well. It's really light lift. And then the other thing with the pilot is, and with the product itself, is that it doesn't need to be a massive project rollout. It doesn't need to be a company-wide rollout, right? I can be alone, and I can sign up and I can use it and see if it helps me manage my email and my tasks for myself. And then I can share it with my super, and then I can share it with my PE, and then I can share it with whoever that might be. And that's how we see a lot of our rollouts go, because it's such a light lift to try, that compared to some of the big hitters, those heavy softwares that you were talking about, the Revistos, the Autodesks, the Procores, you're locked in for 3 years and everyone's in, and that's how it's got to go. This is something that, you can pick up personally or with a small team of 3 or 4 and give it a try for a couple months and not have to, not have to worry about that risk of being locked in for what feels like an eternity.
Well, and sometimes it is an eternity. And the other thing is, I just want to say on behalf of Intelligent Construction Opportunities, part of the problem is also is you make these investments in these huge stacks, and because your colleagues perhaps have referred you to them and said, well, I love this one, or I like that one, or whatever it is, then you got multiple programs that maybe are working together, maybe are causing duplication. And you kind of want to streamline what you're doing. And really, you have to keep evaluating it. And the one thing I always recommend my clients not to do is don't get into long-term contracts. You cannot do that with technology moving as fast as it is. But I have to say, unfortunately, especially with the advent of AI and chat GPT. And I leave that as certainly a takeaway. But this is great information, Scott. So we'll look forward to hearing from you in some way, shape, or form after this, and happy to work together and see how this is. I hate it's such a cliche. I hate it, Elijah. When is it a fit? Well, yeah, is it a fit? Does it actually help you with your projects?
I'm a terrible salesperson, but I'm really good at saying this is or isn't going to work for people, and backing that up. And I think that's really our job, and I think that's your job. I think what you're doing is so smart for construction, is acting as that middleman, because you are able to objectively evaluate both sides. Right? You can evaluate the quality of the software, and you can also evaluate the need based on what the contractor has. Right? And I think an objective group like ours, especially when we're a young company, right? We're small, and the one thing that we don't want to do is promise the world to someone who is going to either not succeed with our product, or that we can't deliver on what we're saying. Right? And all that means is that we have a customer who's unhappy with what we're doing. And that's one of the quickest ways to torpedo a business, right? And so for us, I think we're at that stage where you're right. It's all about the fit, and we want to fit with companies who are ready for it, who are going to get value from it. And if I sit down and I see that that's maybe not the case, right? Like they're not using email, maybe they do some other set of systems, or they have a great task system.
Well, WhatsApp? WhatsApp?
Right. Like they're using WhatsApp to do all their communication.
Yeah.
And I think, Scott, you said Rike. Like Rike is a great platform for tracking tasks, and we've seen people implement it really well. And if they're doing it really tightly and they don't seem to have a problem with it, then I would never try and sit and tell people they needed to change when they've got something that works. Right? I just think that most of the people who we are a fit with is because
it doesn't work. But
it doesn't work right now.
But that's and again, that's why I do stand between the developer, the software company, the technology company, and generally I'll say construction professional, because I prefer that, because I've dealt with customers from HR departments, owners of companies. It depends on the role and how close they are to the pain and the irritants, and trying to change the dysfunction on the site. And it can also be back office too. It all goes round. It's not just the site. It is communications after all. And most of us honestly suck at it on any given day. So, that's just the truth. So anyway, I think, I think you tell a really great story. Is there anything else that you think is important to touch on today? I do like the AI piece in terms of how can you tell people a little bit of how you did talk a little bit about how it's informing writing those emails, but how else is it being integrated into your platform?
Yeah, we do a couple things. So one, we do a lot of automatic organization. So if someone is split across 3 or 4 projects, this is usually like our MEP customers, right? Like who might be split across 10 projects. We can automatically detect what project does this email belong to? We can tag it, we can sort it so that it can be filtered or found for later. That's one way where we're using some of it. Like we said, we do some of this intelligent email writing. We're working on getting it incorporated in a couple other ways. One is just detecting tasks, right? Like these tasks that are coming out of emails. Thank you, Lance, for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Our goal is as user friendly as possible, and I think I'll take this from Cody, who we talked to once, but Cody Fournier said, like text so simple even my dumb ass can use it, and that's our goal, right? Make it so simple, one click. Sorry, what was I? I was talking about AI. That's what we were talking about.
Yes, you were. But keep going. It's okay. It's all right. You're human. We need human.
Right. On the AI side, the other thing that we're doing as we get towards the future is pulling out tasks, pulling out action items from all of that text, and then also just pulling out data, right? Like you have a team that is generating 2+ hours of content every day. Right? This is all written content and emails and agreements and decisions and whatever that might be.
And spelling mistakes.
And using contractual language that you wish they didn't because it's going to hold up in court in a way you don't want. And there's all of this content that the executive team doesn't get any value out of. Often the project management team isn't getting that much value or reporting out of. And so if we can start to not only surface some of those insights to the executive side, right, of these were the decisions that were made. These are the things that overdue. These were the tasks that came out of conversations. Yeah, a little stressful. But also at the same time, like for the project manager, being really quickly able to pull out, this is something you should have followed up on, right? This is the data from you and your insights for your clients. Your clients seem happy, this and this, right? Like I think those are things where that's where we'll go. And the goal is to just make it all faster and easier too, right? I want to be able to prompt you to write a great email about checking in on lead times. And if we could draft that up for you, and if we can draft up other emails like that really, really quickly, we just want to make it easier.
It's a tool. My analogy is that software, they're no different than the other tools or machinery or anything else that is used to aid that construction. And at the end of the day, somebody's using a particular brand, a particular type of pneumatic drill for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. And this is all software has to be, is that same kind of tool. But now it has the challenge of taking into consideration, what do we do with labor shortages? What do we do with lower margins? What do we do with, I'll say, broad brushing mental illness or mental challenges on the job? I mean, all those things mean that these tools absolutely must only be what they have to be.
Yeah.
And that 3-click or I'm out, I mean, it matters because, when somebody picks up, a pneumatic drill, I mean, they're not looking to read an instruction manual and have to onboard with it and, figure out how to use it. I mean, there's a certain logic in how it's built. And so software must be doing the same thing. It's there to aid a project, not the other way around.
Yeah. And I think sometimes you want to be able to do something that is simple and lovable and complete, right? Like I think sometimes softwares try and do a million things. And I think our goal has always been, let's do these simple things extremely well. And if we can get someone else to do these simple things extremely well, if we can make managers who have a hard time with organization or follow-up excellent, right? Let's take those who are struggling and make them in that top 10%. It kind of is just the whole rising tide lifts all ships kind of vibe, where all of your managers at a company or across the industry can be that much better at doing what needs to be done.
Well, okay, so I just want to end on a note here where we've got, check out Roger's website, check out Intelligent Construction Opportunities. It's intelops.com. And let us know, what do you think? It starts with a conversation. That's all
Totally.
anything ever does. And nobody's here to hard sell you or sell you at all. But we don't know, where the gaps are. I mean, I think it's fantastic that Scott took the time to write out all that in the live stream. I mean, it's a lot, admittedly, but it sure tells you that's exactly the kind of information that we need to understand. It's like, okay, so you've got a bunch of tools, but how are they actually performing for you separately and together?
Yep.
And have people adopted them? Are they using them? How much of the team is, having to struggle and say, yeah, I'll get to that again because, I've got change orders I got to look after first,
Yeah.
It's going to matter more and more because technology can be a terrific aid, but you also have to have the people that help you to shape the choices that you're making about that technology. So by all means, check out Intelligent Construction Opportunities and see what we can do for you and lead you to people, the fine builders like, Elijah and his team that really sat down and said, okay, it's great, but what do you really need? What's really falling apart here?
Yeah. There's a lot of amazing tech in construction. It just absolutely incredible what's getting done. But I think sometimes it's a couple steps ahead of maybe where people are right now when they're struggling to figure out what do I do in an hour, so.
Well put, Elijah. And I think with that, we'll call it a wrap. I'll be putting together a little package of some takeaway from today for people that are interested, and let's keep the conversations going between us, because even the builders of software today aren't going to know what you really, really need if you're not going to talk and let us know where those gaps still lie. Yeah. And again, thank you, Scott. Have a great weekend to you too. And we appreciate your time today. And
Stephanie, thank you for having me. This was fun. I appreciate it.
It's good. It's good, Elijah. I think you're doing the right thing, and good luck with all these onboardings that you're flying around hither and yon doing. You should be. And I think you're really solving a problem. And that's what I want to do on these live streams, is make people be aware of those that are, solving the near problems and the far problems.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a fun roadshow, and I'm sure a lot more to come.
And again, if anybody in the audience has any questions, I think at this point, you know where to find us. We'll find you. Take care, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everyone.